Alrighty, folks, welcome to the video for Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. Weekend's right around the corner. We are halfway there. Of course, we are, listen, March Madness is here. You know it. I know it. It's here. So, yeah. A little glum today. Not a great day on the premium page for Tuesday. So I'm not going to waste your time and try to sell you a package because I'm pretty embarrassed. So let's just go ahead and dive right into some free content. We're going to start off with UAB taking on St. Joe's. 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. St. Joe's is minus 5.5. Totals 155 and a hook. Both schools are 22-12 on the year, but St. Joe's has had some difficulties covering the number lately. They failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4. Their opponents have knocked down over 75% of their free throws against them. I guess there's really not much they can control about that, but opposing teams shooting well from the stripe against them, and they're taking on a UAB program who shoots well from the stripe and the field. And as a matter of fact, the Blazers are 5th in the country in field goals made per game. Yaxel Lendeboard, he averages over 17.5 points a game, 11 rebounds per contest. And Alejandro Vasquez, he's averaging double-digit points a game himself, 88% from the foul line. Now, 5 out of UAB's last 9 did get over the line, throwing out that North Texas game. Meanwhile, St. Joe's contest went 8-1 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I like UAB plus 5.5. Over 155 and a hook. All right, next matchup, Dayton, Florida Atlantic, 7 o'clock East. Dayton's minus 1.5, totals 151. Now, the Flyers are 22-10 on the year, but they did fail to cover in 6 out of their last 10. Failures to cover against the likes of St. Joe's, Richmond, and Duquesne. And they're taking on an FAU squad who scored a whole lot of points this season. The Owls average nearly 80 points a game, nearly double-digit 3 balls per game as well. Caleb Glenn shoots 40% from downtown, 12.5 points a night. And Trey Carroll scoring a dozen points a game himself, 51% from the field. FAU saw overs recently against Tulane, UAB, and Temple. Meanwhile, Dayton games went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. I like Florida Atlantic plus 1.5. Over 151. Next matchup, Samford, George Mason, 7 o'clock East. George Mason's minus 7.5, totals 147 and a hook. The Patriots are 26-8 on the year, incredibly tough to score points against. George Mason's allowing only 63 points a game, 2nd in the country in defensive field goal percentage. The Patriots limit opposing shooters to just 37% from the field. They're taking on a Samford school who lost 5 out of their last 8. Listen, they turned it over a whole bunch on offense. Samford saw unders recently in 5 out of their last 9, throwing out the FURM game. Meanwhile, George Mason with unders lately against Richmond and LaSalle. I like George Mason minus 7.5, under 147 and a hook. All right, next matchup, North Alabama taking on Bradley, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Bradley's minus 3, totals 145. Bradley's 26-8 on the year, winners of 8 out of their last 10. And at the moment, the Braves are currently the best three-point shooting school in the nation. They're making over 40% of their long balls as a team. Duke Dean averages over 13.5 points a game, 40% from three-land. And Christian Davis makes 43% of his attempts from long range. They're facing a North Alabama school who allows nearly double-digit 3 balls a game themselves. You know, they've been susceptible to that long ball. And more recently, the Lions failed to cover against Queens College and Lipscomb twice. Now, more recently, the Lions saw overs against Austin Peay and Central Arkansas. Meanwhile, Bradley with overs against Illinois State and Evansville. I like Bradley minus 3, over 145. All right, next game, Furman, North Texas, 8 o'clock East. North Texas is minus 8.5. Totals 130 and a hook. North Texas 24-8 on the year. FURM 25-9. The Paladins also got the W in 6 out of their last 7. They're 12th in the country in 3 balls made. PJ Smith scores 18 points per contest, 42% from 3-land. And Nick Anderson averages over 14.5 points a game himself, 40% from long range. They're facing a North Texas squad who failed to cover in 4 out of their last 5. Just 68 points a game they're averaging on the year. The Mean Green's also 314th in field goals, bottom 20 in assists per contest. Now, North Texas games went 5-3 to the under in their last 8. FURM with unders against Citadel, VMI, and UNC Greensboro. I like FURM plus 8.5, under 130 and a hook. All right, next contest, Northern Iowa taking on SMU, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. SMU's minus 10.5, totals 145 and a hook. SMU 23-10 on the year, averaging 80 points a game. When it comes to shooting the long ball, the Mustangs are in the top 25 in offensive three-point percentage. Chuck Harris averages over 12.5 points a game, 42% from 3-land. And Boopy Miller, he's averaging 13 points a game himself, 81% from the line. Now they're facing a UNI team who lost 3 out of their last 4 themselves. 293rd in defending the 3-ball. The Panthers saw overs recently against Belmont, Murray State, and Indiana State. Meanwhile, SMU with overs recently against Cal and Notre Dame. I like SMU minus 10.5, over 145 and a hook. Next contest, Northern Colorado taking on UC Irvine. That's going to be a 10 o'clock Eastern start. UC Irvine's minus 7.5, totals 151. Now, the Anteaters are 28-6 on the year. Northern Colorado 25-9. The Bears also got the W in 8 out of their last 10. Best field goal shooting school in the country. Northern Colorado makes over 51% of their attempts from the field as a team. Isaiah Hawthorne, he's averaging 17 points a game, 40% from long range. And Langston Reynolds, he's averaging 16 points a game himself, 60% from the field. They're facing a UCI team who failed to cover recently against UC San Diego, Long Beach State, and Cal State Northridge. They also saw unders in 6 out of their last 10. Northern Colorado with unders recently against Montana State, Weber State, and Sacramento State. I like Northern Colorado plus 7.5, under 151. Next matchup, Utah Valley taking on San Francisco, 11 o'clock Eastern start. San Fran's minus 7.5, totals 146. The Dons are 24-9 on the year. Utah Valley 25-8. The Wolverines got the W in 9 out of their last 10. Nice job on the defensive end of the floor. The Wolverines are 3rd in the country in blocks, limiting opposing teams to just 68 points a game. Now, 5 out of their last 9 stayed under the line. San Francisco with unders recently against Pacific, San Diego, and St. Mary's. I like Utah Valley plus 7.5, under 146. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final college basketball breakdown for the video. Loyola Chicago taking on San Jose State. That'll be an 11 o'clock Eastern start. Loyola's minus 3, totals 141. Now, the Ramblers are 22-11 on the year. San Jose State just 15-19 themselves. Spartans took the loss in 7 out of their last 10. 301st in steals on defense. When it comes to guarding the field goal, well, the Spartans are 304th in defensive field goal percentage as well. They're facing a Loyola squad who covered in their last 4 straight. 9-1 against the spread in their last 10. Jaden Dawson averages 13 points a game. Des Watson with 12 points per contest himself. 6 out of the Ramblers' last 10 got over the total. San Jose State with overs against Fresno, UNLV, and Utah State. I like Loyola minus 3, over 141. All right, NBA action, Rockets Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Houston's minus 2, totals 209. Houston's 44-25. Orlando 5 games under 500 themselves. The Magic lost 7 out of their last they lost 7 out of their last 10. Having a tough time getting to the cup this year. The Magic, they're averaging a league worst 104 points per contest. No real shock here. They're also dead last in field goals made per game. They're facing a red-hot Houston team who's on a 7-game winning streak themselves. And they certainly make it uncomfortable for other teams on defense. They're allowing just a dozen 3 balls a game, 4th in defensive field goal percentage. Now, the Rockets saw unders against Phoenix, Indiana, and this very Orlando team. That head-to-head contest saw just 181 total points. Meanwhile, the Magic with unders in 3 out of their last 4 themselves. I like Houston -2, under 209. Next contest, Mavericks Pacers, 7 o'clock East. Indiana's -8.5, totals 234. Now, the Pacers do have a losing record against the point spread, failed to cover in 6 out of their last 7. When it comes to defensive play, the Pacers are in the bottom 5 in defensive field goal percentage. They're facing a Dallas team who's still in the top 10 in three-point shooting despite their recent struggles. They're also still doing a nice job getting to the line. Dallas is 7th in free throws made per game. The Mavs contest went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. Pacers saw overs with Minnesota, Milwaukee, and Miami. I like Dallas +8.5, over 234. Next contest, Pistons Heat, 7:30 p.m. East. Detroit's -5.5, totals 217 and a hook. Now, the Pistons are 7 games over 500, 40-29 against the point spread. Meanwhile, Miami 10 games below 500 themselves, losing record at home. More recently, the ice-cold Miami Heat lost their last 8 straight. They average only 100 points a game during that time frame. No real surprise here. Miami's in the bottom 5 in field goals made per game. They're facing a Detroit squad on the other side who covered the number in 6 out of their last 9. They're 5th in the league in fewest field goals allowed. They're also the best defensive rebounding team in the league right now. 5 out of the Pistons' last 6 did stay under the total. Miami 7-2 to the under in their last 9. I like Detroit -5.5, under 217 and a hook. Next game, Pelicans T-Wolves, 8 o'clock East. Minnesota's -12.5, totals 228. Timberwolves 10 games over 500. Pelicans just 18-51. More recently, the Pels dropped 8 out of their last 10. Having a tough time on the defensive end of the floor. New Orleans allows more field goals a game than any other team besides one. And they're facing a Minnesota squad who's playing some really good basketball at the moment. They got the W in 8 out of their last 9. 5th in the league in shooting the long ball. Anthony Edwards averages over 27.5 points a game, 40% from outside the arc. And Julius Randle scores over 18.5 points a game himself, 80% from the stripe. 6 out of the T-Wolves' last 10 did get over the total. Pelicans with overs against the Clippers, Lakers, and Jazz. I like Minnesota -12.5, over 228. Next game, Knicks Spurs, 8 o'clock East. New York's -9, totals 229. The Knicks are 43-24, but they do have a losing record against the point spread. More recently, the Knicks failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10. Bottom 3 in guarding the 3 ball. And fortunately for the Spurs, they're making nearly 15 3-pointers a game. Top 10 in the league in that category. When it comes to spreading it around, the Spurs are 5th in the league in assists per game. Devin Vassell averages 16 points per contest. Harrison Barnes, 43% from downtown. San Antonio covered recently against the Pelicans, Nets, and Grizzlies. When it comes to the total, Spurs games went 9-1 to the over in their last 10. New York with overs recently against Sacramento and Miami twice. I like the Spurs +9, over 229. Next matchup, Sixers Thunder, 8 o'clock East. Oklahoma City's -10.5, totals 230. And even though OKC's the best team in the Western Conference, they've got a bunch of guys sitting out in this one. Pretty big number to cover with the backups. And listen, they're facing a Philly squad who's used to playing with backups and role players. They actually covered in 4 out of their last 5. Covers against Houston, Indy, and Atlanta. And even though there's really not much the Sixers do right, they have done a nice job getting to the foul line. They're 5th in free throws made per game. Now, Sixer games went 8-2 to the over in their last 10. OKC with overs against Boston, Denver, and Houston. I like the Sixers plus 10.5, over 230. Next game, Wizards, Jazz, 9 o'clock East. Utah's -4, totals 235. And for a team laying a couple of buckets here, the Jazz are just 15-54. Also 8-26 at home. They haven't won a ball game in several weeks. And listen, they give up more 3 balls a game than any other team. Of course, no real surprise. The Jazz are dead last in defensive turnovers. They're facing a Washington team who got the W in 4 out of their last 7 themselves. Scored a whole bunch of points in those victories. And during that stretch, well, the over cashed in 4 out of those 7 contests. Now, Utah on the other side with overs against Toronto, Philly, and this very Washington team recently. That head-to-head contest saw 247 total points. I like Washington +4, over 235. I reluctantly like Washington +4. All right, next matchup. Grizzlies, Blazers, 10 o'clock Eastern tip. Memphis is -4.5, totals 235 and a hook. The Grizzlies are 43-26 on the year. Portland 9 games under 500. Now, the Blazers also took the loss in 6 out of their last 9. Bottom 5 in shooting the 3 ball. Of course, Portland also turns it over a bunch. Bottom 3 in offensive turnovers. They're taking on a Memphis squad who won 5 out of their last 7. Tough team to shoot against from the field. Memphis is 6th in defensive field goal percentage, 5th in defensive turnovers. Now, both teams with unders in 6 out of their last 8. I like the Grizzlies -4.5, under 235 and a hook. Next game, Cavaliers, Kings, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Cleveland's -5, totals 235. Cavs are 56-11, 26-6 on the road. Sacramento just 1 game over 500, 40% against the point spread. More recently, the Kings dropped 4 out of their last 5, gave up a whole lot of points during that time frame. Sacramento allowed 124 points per contest on average during that span. The Kings have also been terrible against the deep ball. They're dead last in defensive 3-point percentage. And they're taking on the best 3-point shooting team in the league, nearly 40% from outside the perimeter. And no real surprise, Cleveland's the highest point-producing team in the Eastern Conference. Darius Garland averages 21 points a game, 40% from downtown. And Donovan Mitchell averages 24 points a game himself. Now, the Cavs saw overs against Memphis, Chicago, and Portland. Meanwhile, Sacramento games went 5-1 at the over in their last 6. Give me the Cavs -5, over 235. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final, not our next and final breakdown, our second to next and final breakdown. Bulls, Suns, 10 o'clock East. Phoenix is -7, totals 236. The Suns are 5 games under 500, 27-42 against the point spread. Chicago's got a winning record against the number, covered in their last 6 straight. The Bulls are one of the better 3-ball making teams in the league. They're actually in the top 3 in 3 balls made per contest. Nikola Vucevic with over 18.5 points a game, double-digit boards, and nearly 40% from 3-land. And Josh Giddey scores over 13.5 points a night himself. They're facing a Phoenix squad who dropped 3 out of their last 5. Bottom 10 in points allowed. They're also second to last in defensive turnovers per game. Suns with overs against the likes of Dallas, Denver, and the Clippers. 5 out of Chicago's last 9 got over the line, throwing out that Utah matchup. Give me the Bulls +7, over 236. And with that, now it's time for our next and final breakdown for the video. Nuggets, Lakers, 10 o'clock East. The Lakers are -2, totals 232. Both teams with the ability to score points. LA's in the top 10 in shooting from the field, 4th in free throws made. Of course, Denver, they're a top 3-point producing team themselves. Now, both squads with overs in 4 out of their last 7 respectively. I like the over 232. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like UAB plus 5.5, over 155 and a hook. Florida Atlantic plus 1.5, over 151. George Mason minus 7.5, under 147 and a hook. Bradley -3, over 145. Furman plus 8.5, under 130 and a hook. SMU minus 10.5, over 145.5. Northern Colorado plus 7.5, under 151. Utah Valley plus 7.5, under 146. Loyola Chicago -3, over 141. NBA Houston -2, under 209. Dallas plus 8.5, over 234. Detroit -5.5, under 217 and a hook. Timberwolves -12.5, over 228. Spurs plus 9, over 229. Sixers plus 10.5, over 230. Wizards plus 4, over 235. Grizzlies -4.5, under 235 and a hook. Cleveland -5, over 235. Bulls plus 7, over 236. Give me the over 232 in that Nuggets-Lakers game. With that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And listen, not over-enthusiastic. I had a horrible day yesterday on the premium site, but if you do decide to get a membership, you are going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. Going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks, that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But once again, had a bad day yesterday. Not going to inundate you with a sales pitch because I didn't deserve it. So anyway, that's all I got to say about the premium site. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.